Rapid fire, a couple of questions. So
Yeah.
Zach Duke here. Zach Galifianakis or Zach Morris?
Ooh, more like Screech from Screech by, if I'm going to go Saved by the Bell, right?
Principal Belden, right?
I'd go Zach Morris, right?
All right. Zach Efron. Do you ever get compared to Zach Efron?
No.
Tough one. All right, I'm out of Zach jokes. What do you got?
And I want you to tell everybody a little bit about your company and how AFT kind of helped facilitate some of that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of kind of self-reflection where you go and say to yourself that, hey, I'm going to go off and I'm going to start something from nothing.
Right.
To get to that place where you go and say, I'm going to go take that leap there's a lot of just soul searching and process. And candidly, that's a whole nother conversation that we could have on a whole nother day. But I think the piece here for me was really, how do we move from success? And I've been blessed to be successful. I was, one of the 7 shareholders at Gladiator Technology up until we sold to Jack Henry in 2007, deep roots in cybersecurity and banking technology and managed services. But the bigger piece is, how do you move to significance? And my CTO co-founder actually was at a $300 million community bank. They grew crazy fast to 1.8 billion. And we're on this mission to simplify the back off operations for documentation and governance of cybersecurity. So that could be things like,
real quick,
am I exam ready or not?
Can you say that one more time? Because I'm really big on, bankers are getting told all the time, you got to do something. And what we're doing and what we're trying to do here is literally bring these companies to them through this video. So say that one more time, what it is you can do for the bankers.
Yeah, so it's simplifying cybersecurity governance. So if you take it back, the concept of information security and cybersecurity governance, that's the validation process. That's the things that you have to go through to make sure that you're actually doing what you say you're doing. That's complicated and labor intensive. A great example is user access reporting for the banking systems. If you're in senior leadership at the organization, go ask your team how they go and validate permissions. And if they have to print out 100 or sometimes even 1,000-page report, that's, and I joke, literally it's written for that. Those old school green and white bar printers that we had back in the day in the banks, right?
You need that?
Yes, you do. Dave, you do. Stop, right? So as part of that, the reason why they have the green and white is so you can read across it and highlight the right area. And if you're managing user access permissions in that way, it's a disservice to the institution, just operationally, let alone regulatory expectations are expanding on that. And then you get into this unique dynamic of things like cyber insurance. And how do I prove and validate that I'm doing things correctly? So, our whole mission is taking these things that are operationally inefficient inside the institution, putting software behind it, leveraging our unique experience and expertise to make that process easier for communities.
The thing that grabs me on this topic, look, and it's a hard topic, right, Zach? It's not, I don't know, crypto or something. It's not sexy, right? But security and the risk side is like everybody's job in the organization. It's hotter and heavier and tougher today than ever before. But it's interesting, I think, and I would love to hear your take. There's like an inherent ROI, right? From your side. Banker, you need to invest here. It's sort of that nasty, it's like an insurance policy. You don't really want to invest in something there. But to your point, when you layer in the technology and you automate, right, and you get more efficient, there's actually an inherent ROI on the investment, right?
Yeah, you're right. And I think as cybersecurity folks, I think we do a disservice to the industry. There are just challenges that we go too technical, too quick. If you look at the surveys that are out there, the Conference of State Bank Supervisors, number 1 on there is cybersecurity. And the reason why is the bankers really just don't know where to go and who to trust. Everybody's trying to sell them something new. And I think the challenges that we have are very, very specific. There's a couple of examples I'll say. Then 2 types of institutions we have. One is they're overwhelmed. And they just don't know what to do, what the right process is. Our platform walks them through that process in a very defined way. You don't have to sit down and eat the elephant in one bite. It's very just easy steps, education along the way where they know what they need to do. And senior management knows how to be able to validate that. The other ones is you have these banks that are more sophisticated and you have highly qualified people that are not working on online account opening, aren't working on crypto because they're trying to do these manual processes and policies in an extremely inefficient way. Think about if you have a senior leader in your institution that's taken out a green bar printout report and spending time on that, but yet your to-do list is not getting knocked out. That's the ROI, right? When you think of those two scenarios.
That's great.
Man, I'll tell you what, what's it worth to somebody to give me a little of my time back?
Oh yeah.
That's worth everything.
So back to your AFT topic. So look, I grew up hearing about AFT, right? I was a kid running around at banking conferences, and on the technology side, I was hearing about AFT from Shin and others, right?
May I?
Yeah.
That's how I heard of AFT, was through him.
Yeah. And so the thing that's so unique to me, and I think you're the poster child here, people show up as newcomers. And if you look at any kind of event, right, it's sort of that awkward, do I hang out in the corner? Do I talk to somebody?
Stand there by myself.
Everybody's super welcoming and friendly, right? And I think what ends up happening is you get this like initial pop of like, it's cool, it's fun, it's valuable, it's good because the community embraces you. And then there's people like you that then for years go above and beyond to be one of those people, right? And you took it further. I mean, you were on the board for a number of years, right?
President.
And then president.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you literally went through the whole life cycle of AFT. I think that's just super cool.
Yeah, I think when you look at putting and having an impact, right, it really comes down to you get what you get out what you put in. And AFT is by far the best example of that, right? That I've seen in my career. I've just been blessed to be part of the group. There have been so many conversations that you get into that it could even be with competitors, like, hey, what are you doing for pricing? Or, hey, I have this legal concern, or, hey, these things are happening that are common challenges. So when you really start talking about in my world today, being able to have a sphere of influence of folks that have built successful companies, have been able to go and have partnerships in the organizations, to be able to pick up the phone and call people. And not only do you get to have conversations, but they give you direct, candid feedback on, hey, here's what you need to be thinking about, or, hey, let me get you introduced to whoever it may be. I think is very, very unique. And, it wasn't circumstantial that I decided to start Finosec the year that I was president. It's a dynamic where, I felt like there's a great opportunity to be able to lean into the roots and the processes and the giving back that I've been able to give. And really, FedFis is a great example of that. Dave, I remember very early on when I was talking about, hey, I'm going to start Finosec, and he pulled me aside. And he's like, starting a business is tough. And you probably had some other words that you said as part of that, right? I mean, it is hard, right? I mean, it's just not easy. And the dynamic of what y'all have done, of being able to go and say, hey, I want to invest, and hey, I want to help you guys go be able to facilitate that through conversations and discussions and processes, is really where the value is. And I'll also say, being on the leadership of AFT for a number of years, I also know that organizations like y'all are lifeblood. It's very unique that when we had COVID hit and conferences were canceled, you know whose name I heard? Hey, FedFis called up and they said, hey, keep our sponsorship. Mm-hmm. That's something, right? I mean, that's something that's above and beyond. And I think that's just a testament to you guys. And that's why the folks that are listening and watching this are involved, right? I mean, that's the testament of who you guys are too. And what you end up finding is AFT is a lot of people that are similar mindsets like that.
I appreciate you saying that. I'll tell you what, you got to kind of keep in mind at the time of that, it was a scary time for everybody. I mean, for us too. I mean, we don't know could this kill half of our staff? We don't really know what's
put off our own conference.
Yeah. So I get it. I get it. Right.
Yeah.
And, but having that fear and, and I knew the leadership of all these companies, these tech companies that bring all the cool products to banking. If I want to save banking, I need to save this, because this is the lifeblood of how it all works. And I always look at everything and talk to people all the time about big picture ecosystem. Don't forget this piece or that piece. All of this kind of works together. And I felt like that was an important part of the food chain of the whole banking system, was to have new products and capabilities to bring those products to market. AFT is instrumental. And like you said, it's a lot of it. I mean, you know this. Whether it's competitor, friend, or foe, that's not really the real thing here. It's a matter of problem solving.
Yep.
And what you'll find is everybody that works for a living in this business, they're going to work at some other place in this business.
I was about to say it's that entrepreneur spirit.
Everybody that owns a company is going to probably own another one. And so it's a little bit of a cult of cool people, and it's really hard to talk over their head.
And
these
it's
are the
also
people that understand things.
There's a lot of mutual respect, right?
Yes.
Because look, I mean, you become actual friends with tons and tons of these people. I mean, you know, their families, I mean, all sorts of things.
Right.
And then maybe one day they're at a place where you got a cool partnership. They're, you know, a wonderful partner. And then a year or two later, they're a competitor. That doesn't, you see how that's such a different dynamic, and you know that in the future, hey, we'll be friends again, right?
Funny story.
So there's a little, you know, there's an honor there.
I let it slip one time to somebody that my wife was like, you know, maybe you gotta think about retiring at some point. And he's like, no. We don't do that. Let me talk to her. I'm like, no, I'm not, don't talk to my wife, please. Okay. So a month later, she's like, what the hell's going on? I'm getting emails and phone calls from all these people trying to talk me into talking you out of retirement. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't there.
Just said the word one time.
Yeah. And so crazy stuff, man. But
I give him a lot of shit, Zach, because I think you and I, of all people, know he'll never stop.
Nah.
Right. He talks every year, like, maybe I'll, you know, cut back, you know, knock 10 hours a week off the schedule and just calm down. And it ends up, I bet he works 80-hour weeks. He just loves it, man.
Well,
it's too much fun.
Too many ideas. And it comes up with an idea that we could do bankers helping bankers.
Yes.
And then we could do sponsorship. I mean, like, there's so much to do and so many neat things happening.
Which is a good segue, man. The bankers helping bankers thing, I think, is, if you think about the roundup and everything that we do there, it's let's bring together the innovative banks. He said something to me yesterday that I think you'll enjoy. He said, let's make banking cool again, or like, let's make bankers cool again. And I don't know, I thought about it all night, tossing and turning, thinking about, you know, it's the Chimes, it's the FinTechs, it's anti-bank. And I think everybody means big bank. And so for us, I think from our roundup to bankers helping bankers, how do we get the cool bankers to help other bankers? Here's what's working. Here's the good stuff, just knowledge sharing from the trusted sources. And I think that's a good tie back to AFT, the people there, those relationships. Yep. You just can't be in a community or a group of people and be a bad actor, right? People are going to be good stewards. And I think that community is needed in banking, right? On the bank side, of people to help each other.
It is. And I think there's opportunities, right? I think ultimately banking is a relationship business. And we miss that, right? We talk about online account opening and electronic signature and all those pieces, but really when it comes down to it is, who are you going to call? Or maybe it's even email and say, hey, I want to meet you for breakfast, or hey, I want to call and I'm going to pick up the phone and have a conversation. Who do you go to? And that's the capital that the institutions have.
Yep.
And when you look at things like, I mean, the list goes on. I go back to PPP, as a small business on my side, who are you going to pick up the phone and call in those situations?
Yeah.
It's a very easy conversation in my case, because it's my community banker that I deal with and have known and has been walking alongside me. And I think when we look at those types of conversations, I think that's the opportunity we have to really evangelize that.
Great point.
And I use that word intentionally. It's not just, hey, I want to talk about it. It's really, we need to evangelize that. We need to talk about the stories more and more. I think AFT does a great job of being able to communicate that. Bankers helping bankers, you guys, what you guys are doing, same concepts, right? And there are folks that are dedicated to helping. Like on our side, we've got this Finosec Academy, and the Finosec Academy is free resource. You got a question on cybersecurity, you got an exam coming up, ask my team. We'll give you answers. We won't charge you. We just want to help. And I think that's missed. I don't want your email because I'm going to blow up your inbox with a bunch of propositions.
Right.
You got a question and we can help. Let us just help.
I love that mentality. Is we have a very similar mentality. We've got such niche focused, just rock stars that are brilliant, a very small little fraction of the world. Right. But what is probably the most difficult thing for the average person, banker, software, whoever, we got a team of people that can answer it in 8 seconds. Yep. Why not just do it?
Pick up the phone.
I mean, shoot us a text. I can answer. It's no skin off anybody's back, and I think that attitude's missed. You mentioned the relationship side.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about.
But it's funny, the alternate would be to say that it's very transactional. And banking is transactional. Think about contracts and diligence and it's transactional by nature. I think we get lost in that.
Yeah, quit trying to sell your damn product and start trying to figure out how to help somebody. And when I talked to you when you first started your company, I was like, hey, I know what it's like. Let me know how to help. I can make introductions. I can give you information. I can give you data. Just tell me things that you're up against. Maybe I'll call in a favor with a pal of mine that'll do something to help you as well. Okay, if you think about selling to a community banker in that same vein, that I'm here to help. Okay, or I'm going to give you information on this thing. Okay, now I know an expert in this field. When I have a question about security, I'm going to call Zach.
Comes back to trust. I don't know jack about security. You're literally actually in Bankers Helping Bankers. There was a banker question a few days ago, and I literally was like, call Zach, dude.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sharp enough on your topic to know if you're full of shit or not. But I trust you. And I know
And I think that's exactly where it goes down to, right? Is the dynamic of going above and beyond. And I think that piece is what's made it successful. I have this saying that I've talked about for years is bankers love to buy things, hate to be sold.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
That's right.
I buy things I need. Right. And there has to be an understanding of these challenges and the dynamics. And I think when you look at stuff like what we're doing, when you go back to your team as an organization and say, hey, how do we do this internally? Or if you're a partner of community banks and you're saying, how do we empower our institutions to be able to go validate user access reporting for permissions on our systems? And if it's broken, maybe there's a better way. Right. And that's where things like AFT and relationships and discussions really expand.
Right. Carry this forward, like he just said. So if you said, I also bring that to AFT, right? All right. Now, like you said, I don't have to be an expert in security. I know an expert in security, but I damn sure have to trust you. And I have to trust your intellect, your integrity, everything about that. So why don't you go out there and screw a couple of bankers and make $1 and see how that works out in the long run for you. But if you go through and help not only bankers and tell them the truth, become an expert in these things, and that you can bring this information to folks, then others will do the same. And if you carry that forward into AFT or other things that you do to help more people, it actually ends up helping you. So look at our business. Our business is a great example. We have Roundup. This is for sponsor banks. This is for innovation. Okay. We have FinTech Cowboys to bring bankers new products like yours or really cool things, ways to, let's stop talking about you need to make a change and show them specifically the ones to pick, right? I think that's important.
Showing off the people that we trust.
Bankers helping bankers. That's where the bankers only get to talk to each other, vet things out, find who these trusted people are, work on data solutions to things that they didn't have before. That's a community for that. Now you start tying all that together.
Trust fact.
And then you throw AFT into this thing and we start helping these companies. I want to see the products get to the bankers so that everybody wins. This idea that we should give up on community banking. Let me just say this real quick. I haven't seen a whole lot of branches getting built by Chime, but I've damn sure seen a lot of banks building an app and a direct bank and a digital bank, and they're making bucks, and they've been profitable since the first day they opened their doors. This is not, forget about community banking. Community banking is fixing to explode. And then you know this as good as anybody. These new marketplaces that are coming up, Jack Henry's got a really cool situation going on. Finestra's got theirs. I mean, they're everywhere. Q2's got their marketplace. Fiserv buying Finxact may be the beginnings of some of that kind of stuff. There's so many things that are happening to empower these bankers to have better products. It's up to all of us to tell the truth, get this information correctly so that the bankers don't have to go through this. Well, here's a list of all the people that do that. No, what's your problem? Here's the solution. There it is. Now go and make it quick and easy for these people to make the moves they need to make. Stop yelling at them about digital transformation and tell them how to do it.
Okay, Zach, I hate this. Every thought piece out there, whether it's podcasts or copy, right? It's buzzwords that's like chapter titles with no verse.
And I think that there's a lot of noise. I think that when you really kind of shake it out, and I think this is a testament to what you guys are going through. I have empathy for the institutions just imagine how many emails and voicemails they get every single day with the volume, right? And what's relevant. And then one of the things I've seen on our side is one of the organizations we were involved in very early on is ATDC. That's the Advanced Technology Development Center. It's an incubator off of Georgia Tech. And here's a Georgia guy going there, right? Really, but man, their discovery processes they put in place is awesome. And then we were able to go tie that into the ICBA and their investment through the ICBA FinTech and lots of discussions with the institutions, right?
As well, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of pieces that we can go run after in the same process there to be able to go get direct feedback on how do we help.
So I was actually involved with ICBA and those guys. I'd actually done some with Venture Center before. When they started ThinkTech, it was kind of an obvious thing. What we do with ThinkTech, we're sort of the data provider, right? So once they pull together the cohort, actually these days we're getting engaged really early, like weeks before it's even really public, right? Getting in there. And I think it's cool for us because that's obviously how we feel about data. It's the first step. It's the foundation, right? Obviously security as well. So we've been involved in ThinkTech for a long time. And obviously with you guys going through there and everything, you want to talk a little bit about that process and just how
I think
highly.
Yeah, I'll just say first off, it was a game changer for us in the industry. So I've been working with and facilitating community banks for over 20 years. And this environment of being able to go have over 100 meetings within 90 days is unheard of. Right. The ability of you being able to go have frequency of discovery on the process. And I talked a little bit about that earlier on the ATDC side of how they enabled that discovery process. But this concept of being able to go understand what the real challenges are at the institutions quickly to make sure that your product roadmap is in the right space and you're being able to address the right things has been absolutely instrumental for us. We've got a number of customers that have come on board as part of that. Our roadmap continues to grow. And if anyone is looking for innovation, and I'll just say this from the community banker side, if you want to have your team think about innovation differently, go sign up and be part of the ICBA FinTech. If you're a vendor and you're trying to figure out, hey, how do I go help community banks? Go sign up and be part of the FinTech. It's
I can't say enough good things about Wayne Miller and how they run that. And actually, so many other people with great relationships from prior. I'm thinking about Bauer and others. That Daniel. I mean, just rock stars that are come through there. You know what I mean? This is a really awesome, well put together place. So, and it's cool to your point. Look, why would Zach Duke ever be in an accelerator? You see how it's almost like it doesn't even
he can teach
the
it.
circuit disconnects, right? He should be teaching the thing. He's not a mentor, he's a mentor.
Where else can you go have a conversation with that many institutions? And there's this adoption curve we talk about, right? The early adopters and the innovators. Those are the folks that are part of that process. I can go talk to those bankers. Awesome, sign me up. Yep. And I think ultimately as a innovation community, as AFT folks, it really comes into what are the challenges that we're seeing, and then how do we go help the community bankers? And I think y'all are a testament to that. And just, hey, how do we shorten that cycle? How do we help them quicker? If they're doing things like 1,000-page report and somebody is actually printing out the previous month here and the other one, and they're going page by page. I mean, like, what is wrong? Right? My head hurts just by the concept of thinking of that.
Why do I have a
you said my head hurts.
When I have a senior leader that's doing frankly almost any work, right? Other than just like strategery. But when I have a senior leader that's actually doing something with paper, that's
right. Or even better. I mean, this is the other thing that's a little scary is who's signing off on it, and are they really okay? They're signing off on it. Like, so if it's me, my ADD would kick in. Now, I'd probably be good at like page 4, right? Right. I mean, first 4 pages, I'd be rock star, and then I'd be after that, like, oh my goodness, like, that's just me. I could not do it. There's no way. And there's the level of detail is, are you really okay putting your name that somebody reviewed this and that process? And ultimately, when you really look at cyber risk, when we were talking about it before, it's really about what are the most important things we need to put in place. There's a lot of just discussions and processes around, the flux capacitor, right? It has this component of it'll take you back to the future and has all these, neat things, right? But really what you got to go shake it down to is thinking about what are the systems I have in place today? How do I make sure when somebody clicks on a link, they only have rights and this is a phishing attack. So somebody clicks on a link, they only have rights to what they need. What happens if the hacker sends a phishing attack and somebody clicks on the link and that employee actually has access to GL in the core?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a tough one that came up the other day on this?
Yeah,
topic? Okay.
Sure.
So if you think about an end consumer, right? Let's say it's a card, something that you're, and we think of multi-factor, a secondary authentication, phone. Let's get out of band. Got it.
Yep.
Now let's talk about a bank employee, an admin, right? And so I bet your average bank employee probably has 20 admin portals. You got bill pay and you got item processing and mobile and online. Oh my goodness, right? Debit.
Yep.
A lot of those are seriously high risk. Right.
Yes.
Think about things like cards. Oh my goodness. Any kind of money movement, P2P, ACH wires. Ugh.
Yep.
What's the MFA and secondary validation on that? And if that's let's say a passcode going to a phone,
if the phone's
who owns the phone? Is that a bank?
Yeah.
Phone?
Yeah. You know,
an employee phone.
Right. No.
Right?
So there are real challenges with that in a whole bunch of different ways. Right. So first off, I'll just say the first piece that you want to have across the board. Anytime that you can do multi-factor authentication, you need to do it. And no, that doesn't mean a picture with a password below it. That's not multi-factor. It's something you actually have to have. SMS is okay. An authenticator app on your phone is better, harder to compromise. But even SMS is better because somebody would then have to go and be able to go do spoofing and other things. There's steps that you get into. It's just like when I leave my house, right? I've got alarms on my first story. My second story, I don't. If somebody wants to go take a ladder, crawl up in my house and take everything back down that ladder, that's a risk I'm okay with, right? But when you talk about MFA, that's like, I'm going to lock my door, right? That's like the first foundational steps. And I think when you're talking about these different systems, part of where we fit in is be able to validate least privilege for each of those individual systems. There's a need in the industry for multi-factor authentication. If your cyber insurance renewal is coming up, I can guarantee you they're going to be focused in on that. They are expecting that high-risk functions have multi-factor. We've just seen it across the board. So they're when you really start talking about the authentication dynamics and how do you go validate, those are things you need to have. Now, today, I will tell you, I'm okay with SMS just because it's a step forward. Unless you're in a very high-risk function, if I'm, Jeff Bezos, I'm going to be having everything there because think about it. Last time you went to AT&T or Verizon and got a new phone, how did they validate you are who you say you are? Oh, my phone number is boom, 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 boom.
Yes.
And to your point, who owns that phone?
Okay. And this always gets me. Do you remember what happened with Apple Pay? Unhackable when it came out, right? And so the Apple's wanting to go to the banks, break off a piece of interchange revenue because it's unhackable. And I think you probably still argue it's unhackable. I don't know if it's ever been hacked, but there was fraud everywhere in enrollment. How did I ever confirm that the person that enrolled this card in Apple Pay was actually Zach? And what was happening?
Can I see your card, please? I'd like to take a picture and put that in my wallet.
Yes, you got servers or bartenders, right? That are going in the back and adding your card to their Apple Pay. So I love your point, right? A lot of times it's not, did we build a good enough castle, right? It's did we actually invite our enemies in, right? Whoops, Trojan.
Yeah. Before we get too deep here, let me kind of, I don't want to say dumb it down. That was rude.
That was for me. It's not rude to me. I know you need to dumb it down for me. It's okay.
For the regular guys out there, what we're talking about
which is me.
Is, let's say Zach has a system that's going to be money movement related, debit, whatever it may be. Tanner has a security admin that allows him into that system. And let's say, hey, we're going to go real time. It's going to go faster. Any boo-boos that happen between these two could get really expensive for me, the banker. And so what I need to do is make sure when this person logs into the system that accesses, oh my goodness, this important thing that's moving all this money, that person is who they're supposed to be. If a bad guy was to hack you and put on a cowboy hat and then go out there and pretend to be you, now here's what we're talking about, out of band. So Tanner works off of the RC Coke can. And we're going to validate the cowboy hat and the RC Coke can. I want to do it through a different kind of Coke can. I want to do it with a different kind of cowboy hat. I want to make sure that we've checked this out differently. So in layman's terms, we're just talking about out of band means a different way.
Common when they hack your email, okay, you get a 4-digit passcode to Zach's point SMS. They would need to pretty much have me kidnapped as well, right? Because they're not going to have my email and my phone and my face all at the same time, right? So the idea of getting out of that band, right? And I think for a long time, Zach, we went way deep instead of breadth. And I think it's a good concept.
Yeah, and I think there's, the challenges are real. As we speak, there's concern with Russia, Ukraine, what happens. There's a lot of buzz, Department of Homeland Security, on processes associated with that. When you get those type of alerts, that's why cybersecurity is always on the top list of senior leadership inside the institutions. It's like, oh, okay, how do I manage that? Or things like supply chain risk. My managed service provider uses a product called Kaseya, and then that product was hacked, and every single one of the machines of that provider was encrypted. Oh, that scares me. How do I manage these things? And it really comes down to is risk management. And bankers are great at risk management. That's their processes of how they do this thing called give loans, get paid back on loans, and make the money. That is banking in the process. The challenge really that's related to cybersecurity is, how do we take those same processes and philosophies and simplify it? Put it in a way where it's logical from a senior level perspective, rather than getting in the minutia. And I think those are the real challenges that we have in the industry. But there's a bunch of stuff that's moving in the right direction. Yeah. And there's a lot of collaboration, right? So
things are getting clever.
One thing I really like about Zach and Finosec is we're not trying to necessarily find out how you were messed up and how something happened. We're trying to prevent it from happening, get in front of it.
Right.
And
which is the greatest ROI, that's the hardest to measure, right?
Correct. And really it also gets into, how do I make decisions on risk, right? One of the things we've done is we've actually automated the risk assessment. So if you're a senior leader and you're going to go and say, hey, we're implementing online account opening, what controls do you have in place today? And what should you be adding to the list? Because now you have these new risks and functions. As you start talking about going to open banking, that's awesome. I'm going to go partner with this new FinTech that has this new, I'll go flux capacitor again. I love to be able to go those analogies, right? But it's this new great thing that's going to be awesome. Perfect. What are the controls we have in place? How do we protect it? And then what do I need to think about adding? Making that process easy, simplified, and automated is what we've been running after.
When it's running the traps, right? So you got me thinking about Finosec Academy, right? This knowledge sharing, it's IP that is often all of our biggest problems, because look, we're doing something new. We've never done it before. How do we do it? We go out there and we get our asses kicked for a while until we learn the best practices. So the idea of being able to share best practices and having smart, trustworthy people like you that have a lot of experience in it, awesome. And I can just tell, you can tell I'm pretty enthusiastic, because security scares the shit out of me. I mean, this is
it should. I mean, now I will also say there's also a business dynamic, and you don't want to have cybersecurity run your business. So what ends up happening is, it's just like the small business in town where a banker may go say, I'm going to do a loan because I know Dave, and I know Dave's going to be really successful, and all the things are there, and I feel okay with it. It's the same thing with cybersecurity. I've got these things in place. I feel secure, but there's these other risks that I have that I cannot put my arms around, right? And really what it gets down to is you have to go in and say, prioritize what's the most important and be able to react from there.
I love it.
Well, hey man, you got any final thoughts? You want to talk to the bankers of the world and tell them something cool about you and Georgia football?
No, I think the other piece that I'll just say is, when I was talking about moving from success to significance, I think that's got a whole nother meaning behind it. And I think when we're looking for partners, and you guys are a testament to this, right? It's bigger than just, hey, what is the financial transaction of that one specific event? And that's a lot of the thing that we've talked about today. AFT has that. I know community bankers have that same mindset, and ultimately we're just here to help.
So partners, not vendors.
Correct.
That's a great one. Yeah, I love the topic, and I often tell people from the other side as a buyer, that's what I'm looking for. I want to partner, not a vendor, right? And I mean, especially if it's anything important, right? I mean, we feel that way about data. We get called up, hey, can I buy a list? And it's like, we're a little more relationship driven than that. I can give you one.
Well, if and everybody wants to talk about trust. It's like, when I for a long time, we've always talked to everybody that you're right or you're wrong in the data business. There's no in between.
Right.
You got it or you don't. And somebody says, we have all these things. And then you get in there and go, well, that's only half of right. And it's only half populated. We're not going to be that company. So what we want to do is get it right. And then what I want to do is prove it. How do you prove it? Well, let me give you some of it, go make a little money with it. And now all of a sudden, I bet you come back to the well.
Yep.
And
Spot on.
that's a business out of trust.
Yes.
Yeah. Spot on. Spot on.
And
Well,
Tech operates that way too, man. That's why I will always tell people, call you. And the biggest thing, and I'll leave everybody with this. I know if I send a bank to you, if you can't solve it, you'll tell them that, and you'll send them to who can, even if it hurts you.
spot on.
I literally know that, and that is a short list of people I'd say that about. So
Well, I'll tell
we
you one more
appreciate
thing,
you.
take it a step further. He wouldn't be on here if I didn't trust him, and he wouldn't be on here if he didn't help bankers. And that's what we bring to you every week. Thanks for riding with the Cowboys.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, Zach.